Hello, and welcome to another episode of My Two Cent. My name is Paul Emerson. I will be giving you My Two Cent. You're watching School of Thought, a series based on philosophy of isms and their unification. Today's topic is going to be realism. Please feel free to comment and provide feedback on this subject or any other ism in the comment section of this video. Have you ever wondered if the world you see around you is real, or if it's just a creation of your mind? These questions have been asked by philosophers for centuries, and the answer is not easy. One school of thought that has emerged is philosophical realism. In this talk, we will explore what philosophical realism is, its history, and its significance in philosophy. Philosophical realism is a view that there is a reality independent of our thoughts and beliefs about it. According to this view, the world exists objectively, and our knowledge of it is a representation of this objective reality. This is in contrast to idealism, which argues that the world is a product of our minds and only exists through our perception of it. The origin of philosophical realism can be traced back to ancient Greek philosophers, where philosophers like Plato and Aristotle believed in the existence of a world that exists independently of our perception of it. The modern form of philosophical realism emerges in the 19th century as a response to idealism, which has dominated Western philosophy for centuries. One of the main arguments for philosophical realism is the problem of universals. Universals are general properties or concepts that are shared by multiple particular objects. For example, the concept of redness is a universal that is shared by all red objects. Realists argue that the universal exists independent of our minds, and they can be known through perception and reasoning. Philosophical realism has had significant implications in many areas of philosophy, including the metaphysics, epistemology, and ethics. In metaphysics, it has influenced debates about the nature of reality and the existence of universals. In epistemology, it has led to discussions about how we acquire knowledge of the world and how we can be certain about it. In ethics, it has contributed to debates about the objective of moral values and the possibility of moral knowledge. However, philosophical realism has not been without its critics. One of the main objections to realism is the challenge of skepticism. Skeptics argue that our perception of the world is limited and fallible, and therefore our knowledge of reality is uncertain. Another objection is that realism cannot explain how our minds and perceptions relate to the objective world. Philosophical realism, the belief that the external world exists independent of our perception of it. Literalism, a literal movement that emerges in the 19th century characterized by the description of everyday life and social issues in a realistic and objective manner. Artistic realism, an artistic movement that emerges in the 20th century characterized by the depiction of subjects in a realistic and objective manner. Political realism, a theory of international relations and emphasizes the pursuit of power and national interest in the world of anarchy. Moral realism, the belief that moral facts exist independent of human opinions and attributes, moral realism, the belief that moral facts exist independent of human opinion or attitudes. These are just a few examples of the term realism. Can be applied to various fields of study and have different connotations depending on the context. Philosophical realism is a school of thought in philosophy that holds that reality exists independent of human perception and that knowledge of this reality is obtainable through reason and empirical evidence. This thesis aims to explore the central tenet of philosophical realism and historical development and its implication for contemporary philosophical discourse. It poses that objective reality exists beyond the realm of human perception and is independent of subjective experiences. In this sense, it stands in opposition to idealism, which posed that reality is created by the mind, and skepticism, which denies the possibility of knowledge and objective reality altogether. Realists maintain the knowledge of our world can be attained through the use of reason and empirical observation, as opposed to being based on intuition or subjective experiences. Philosophical realism has its roots in ancient Greek philosophers, particularly in the works of Plato and Aristotle. However, the modern form of philosophical realism emerges in the 17th century as a response to the skepticism of Descartes and the empiricalism of Locke. It was further developed by philosophers such as Immanuel Kant, George William Frederick Hegel, and Bertrand Russell. The development of philosophical realism was influenced by the rise of science and its success in describing the philosophical world through empirical observation and experimentation. Realists argue that science demonstrates that objective reality exists and that the knowledge of it is obtainable through reason and empirical evidence. Realism also influences other areas of philosophy, including metaphysical, epistemology, and ethics. One of the central debates within philosophical realism is the nature of the relationship between reality and language. Some realities argue that language is a direct reflection of reality, while others maintain that language is an imperfect tool that can only approximate reality. Others debate concern the relationship between reality and consciousness. Some realists argue that consciousness is a product of reality, while others maintain that consciousness plays an active role in shaping reality. Contemporary philosophical discourse continues to engage with the idea and arguments put forth by philosophical realists. Realism remains a central tenet of many scientific fields, and it continues to inform philosophical debate in areas such as metaphysics, epistemology, and ethics. The enduring relevance of philosophical realism reflects the fundamental insight that objective reality exists and can be known through reason and empirical evidence. In conclusion, philosophical realism is a school of thought in philosophy that holds that reality exists independent of human perception and that knowledge of this reality is attainable through reason and empirical evidence. It has a rich historical development and continues to inform contemporary philosophy discourse. While debates persist concerning the relation between reality, language, and consciousness, the enduring relevance of philosophical realism reflects its fundamental insight that objective reality exists and can be known through reason and empirical evidence. Philosophical realism is a complex and contested idea that has had significant implications in many areas of philosophy. It has been shaped by centuries of philosophical debate and has contributed to our understanding of the nature of reality, knowledge, and ethics. While it has its critics, it continues to be a compelling and influential philosophical viewpoint that challenges us to question our assumptions about the world around us. This has been School of Thought. As always, my name is Paul Emerson, and I have given you my 2 cents.